Chapter 22. You're not going to like this, Chief. It was early on Monday morning, and Gwendraeth James was trying to recover from a weekend spent putting up kitchen cabinets and listening to his Uncle Edward's tapes. Like what, Warden? This report was just come in. Harry Warden waved a sheet of paper at his superior. What report? And I think that's just come in. I'll go and get us some coffee, Harry Warden said, as he got up and placed the reports on Gwendraeth's desk. Not like you to get picky about grammar, is it? Not like some people. Gwendraeth James picked up the reports that had been filed over the weekend. Most of it was the usual routine stuff. A break-in in a video shop, several car thefts, and a hit-and-run case near the shopping centre. Then he saw the one that Harry Warden had been talking about, a suspected shooting near the National Coracle Centre. He was still reading the details when the sergeant came back carrying 2 cups of coffee. When did this come in? Gwendraeth said, indicating the report. It was here when I got you. Told you wouldn't like it. Harry Warden put one of the cups of coffee on Gwendraeth's desk and started blowing across the top of his own. That's that bloke, Martin James, who went to school with you, isn't it? That's him and his solicitor, Merlin Griffiths. The one that got shot. Thank you, Warden, Gwendraeth James said, picking his own cup of coffee up. Did you talk to casualty yet? Only got the sister on duty, didn't I? There was no doctor available. He was stitching someone else up, they said. Car accident. Well, what'd she say? Give us a chance, Chief. She said the usual, you know. They were only prepared to divulge the details of what was absolutely necessary. In other words, she was giving you the runaround. Sorry, Chief. Let's go over there now then, shall we? Gwendraeth said, taking a last sip of his coffee. And by the way, this coffee's worse than usual. Sorry, Chief. Stop apologizing, will you? The casualty department of Miserpont General Hospital was a mishmash of architectural styles that smelled vaguely of antiseptic. Gwendraeth walked through the new annex into the old building. Yes. There was a short, dark, pasty-looking woman sitting on a revolving stool in the registration booth. She looked bored, and she sounded it, Gwendraeth thought. Miserpont CID, Gwendraeth said, holding up his ID. Harry Warden stood close behind him with his wallet open. We'd like to see anyone who was here on duty last Saturday afternoon. We're very busy, you know. You surprised me. There's no need to take that tone, Inspector. I will do what I can for you, naturally. I always oblige the police, even if they are not always obliging themselves. But you will have to wait. She waved them in the general direction of the waiting room, and then she disappeared down the corridor. It was a largish room with several rows of black leatherette-covered chairs in the centre and benches of the same material around the walls. Not that busy, are they? Harry Warden said. Not considering. Time of day, I expect, Gwendraeth said. Wouldn't want to start the week off with an accident, now would you? Harry Warden looked oddly at his chief, started to say something, and then apparently thought better of it. Chief Inspector James. Gwendraeth looked up to see a tall, thin woman with dyed blonde hair and too much mascara. She was holding a clipboard and looking directly at him. Gwendraeth James, he said. I would not wish to be too informal on immediate acquaintance, the blonde woman said carefully. That is too forward in my experience. You're the doctor? Gwendraeth asked. That is correct. You were on duty on Saturday afternoon? That is correct also. Follow me, please. She had very white, high heels and a good figure, Gwendraeth couldn't help noticing, as they followed her through a set of swing doors and turned left into a green-painted cubicle. I am Dr. Tahirovic. I was here on duty Saturday afternoon. Now, how can I help you? Someone was shot, Gwendraeth began. A Merlin Griffiths. There was a suspected shooting. Yes. Suspected? The doctor took a deep breath. Let me say, I can be as meticulous as anyone, Inspector. Suspected, yes. To be precise, I suspected it was a bullet from a standard NATO issue rifle, a 7.62 millimeter, or something similar, fired from no more than 200 feet. The patient was lucky. How can you be sure it was a 7.62? I was born in Kosovo, Inspector. I had to leave there. I am capable of telling the difference between a standard issue rifle and a Kalashnikov. There was a standoff between them for a moment. Gwendraeth noted the doctor's quiet determination and her taut, thin face. He thought he had rarely met a woman so remote and so interesting, both at the same time. Thank you, he began. But Dr. Tahirovic had anticipated his next question. We released the patient after treatment and observation. He's due to return in 10 days. Alternatively, he could visit his own doctor. Thanks again. You don't need to keep thanking me, Inspector. I look forward to meeting you again. Perhaps a discussion over a different bullet. Then the cubicle curtain swished, and she was gone. She's a piece of work, wasn't she? Harry Warden said a few minutes later, as they approached the top of the hill on the way out to Maisebond. They were heading in the direction of Merlin Griffiths' house. Gwendraeth had phoned his office earlier, only to be told the solicitor was not in work and was not expected for the next few days. Was she? Come off it, Chief. I saw you watching her as we headed to that cubicle. First time I've seen a doctor in casualty wearing 6-inch heels. She wears is no business of yours, Warden. No business of yours, maybe. Cat can look at a canary, though, can't she? And a sergeant can't help noticing. It's enough. Several miles out of town, Gwendraeth turned into the driveway of a detached house with a pitched roof on all sides. It was a large but fairly anonymous building with 2 bay windows, 1920s or 30s at a guess, Gwendraeth thought. He didn't like it. It was not an architectural period of which he was fond. It was too modern, and at the same time not modern enough. He parked the car in the driveway, got out, and rang the front doorbell. Harry Warden followed him. Yes. The door was opened by a tall, youngish-looking, dark-haired man with a thin face. His left arm was in a sling, and his eyes had a faraway expression, as if he was on painkillers or had just woken up. Merlin Griffiths? Yes. Detective Chief Inspector Gwendraeth James, Maisebond CID. And this is Sergeant Harry Warden. You'd better come in, Inspector. I've been expecting you. Merlin Griffiths turned and led the way back into the house. The hallway was a litter of kids' toys, including an upturned tricycle and a plastic bus. Excuse the mess, Merlin Griffiths said. Lifting things has not exactly been easy since Saturday. They followed him past the toys and into the lounge. Sit down, please. Gwendraeth chose a straight-back wooden armchair which faced away from the window, while Harry Warden sat opposite him. Merlin Griffiths remained standing. Perhaps he was still in pain, Gwendraeth thought. Or perhaps he was a trifle more nervous than he ought to have been. You've come about the shooting. I think you know that, sir, Gwendraeth said. It's a way of beginning a conversation, isn't it? Gwendraeth now glanced around the room. The floorboards had been stripped and polished, but there were no rugs or ornaments of any kind anywhere. The total effect was like an upmarket dentist, Gwendraeth thought. Can you tell us exactly what happened on Saturday afternoon at or near the National Coracle Centre? Harry Warden had his notebook up, and he wasn't wasting any time. I know this sounds slightly ridiculous, Merlin Griffiths began, but I didn't actually see anything. One minute I was in the middle of the river paddling the coracle, and the next, well then, I was shot. From what direction, sir? From the bank, I assume. Wasn't anyone else on the river? Until Gwendraeth launched the rowing boat, that is. Sir? To rescue us. I had to drop my own paddle as soon as I was hit. I couldn't do anything else. I began to drift downriver towards the falls, which can be dangerous. It was Martin James's first time out. He didn't have much idea how to handle one coracle, never mind two. So Gwendraeth had to come out and rescue us. So you didn't see anything move on the bank or elsewhere before you or after you were shot? I told you, nothing. I was in shock, I suppose. What about Martin James? Did he see anything? I don't know. You'll have to ask him. We intend to, don't worry. Harry Warden tapped his pencil against the side of his pad. And can you think of any reason why anyone would want to shoot you, sir? Lots of reasons, I'm afraid, Merlin Griffiths said. I'm a solicitor. People are not always pleased with us. Seriously, Gwendraeth interrupted. You were in a coracle with Martin James. Could the shot have been aimed at him? Merlin Griffiths considered this. I suppose so. We were on the river together. The currents are unpredictable. It may have been a mistake. He touched his arm as he spoke, Gwendraeth noticed. As if to say, if it had been a mistake, it had been a very painful one. May I ask what you and Martin James were doing together, sir? Harry Warden was being particularly polite, Gwendraeth noticed. Yes. As a matter of fact, we were going to do some fishing. It was his first time in a coracle. I was teaching him how to maneuver when I was shot. I mean, had he come to see you professionally, if you don't mind, sir? Well, yes. I can tell you that, I suppose. He'd come to see me on a question about the Plaswern Lass estate. We've handled their affairs for 3 generations. What did he want to know, exactly? Gwendraeth now stepped in directly. I'm afraid I can't tell you that. The shooting may be an attempt to kill you. We're already dealing with one unsolved murder, and I'd like to prevent another one. Your client, Martin James, is already linked to the first, and now I find him suspiciously close to the second attempt. Then I suggest you question him directly with myself in attendance. That would be your recommendation, would it, sir? It would, Inspector. It wouldn't be anything to do with the death of his Aunt Henrietta all those years ago, would it? It was a long shot, but Gwendraeth saw his remark hit home. The solicitor touched his bandaged arm again and winced. Perhaps I'd better sit down, he said, going over to the empty armchair. He moved slowly, and his face was pale. They've given me some painkillers, but I find the effect wears off after a couple of hours. Your arm's going to be all right, is it? The wound will take time to heal, of course, but there's no serious internal damage, so they tell me. You were treated by that Bosnian doctor? For a moment, Gwendraeth couldn't follow Harry Warden's exact direction. Neither did Merlin Griffiths, and that soon became apparent. I don't see what that's got to do with anything, Sergeant. Attractive, I thought, Harry Warden said, worrying at something between his front teeth. Knows our gunshot wounds too. He's a refugee, probably with an unenviable past. Now, if you'd excuse, I would like to know exactly what Martin James discovered, Gwendraeth said. What made him need to see you on a Saturday afternoon? Why couldn't he wait, Mr. Griffiths? If you have to know, I do. There's nothing definite. It seems he's afraid there might be some sort of link between his Aunt Henrietta's death and the murder of Parker Merriam. We don't exactly know it is a murder, do we? Not definitely. Harry Warden's voice broke the temporary silence. I think we all know what an open verdict means at this stage, don't we? Merlin Griffiths now turned his attention to Gwendraeth. Martin James had been reading his aunt's diaries. They were amongst the papers belonging to the Plaswern Lass estate. He's the trust beneficiary, so he needs to understand as much as he can about the estate and its history. Even if that involves murder? Harry Warden jumped in with a question. The young solicitor leaned back in his armchair. Pain showed in his face. He looked at Gwendraeth again. Even if that involves murder, Inspector, both in the past and in the present. Well, what do you think about this link? Gwendraeth wanted an answer. I don't know, Inspector. I really don't. What was all that about? Harry Warden asked. It was raining by the time they got back in the car. A lorry passed as Gwendraeth waited to turn into the main road. All what? The stuff about the murdered aunt and all. You knew about it, didn't you? Everyone here knows about it. I don't. That's because you didn't come here till yesterday. Stop that, will you? Harry Warden said. My family's been here over 10 years. I'm trying to make sure my kids learn Welsh. Can't do more than that now, can I? The rain seemed to come down heavier as Gwendraeth clung to the centre line, looking for the turning. There were high hedges each side of the road, and a stream of water ran into the drain. He turned on the heater to try and clear the windscreen. He didn't feel like saying much. It was as if he kept quiet about it, then he wouldn't have to think about the past too much. After a while, Harry Warden broke the silence. Where are we going, Chief? Place won't last. The place we went before, where Samantha Merriam and Martin James live. The one the solicitor was talking about. Martin James doesn't live there, Warden. Spent most of his life in London. He's staying there, that's all. He's the beneficiary of the trust. You don't like him, do you? I was in school with him. That's what I mean. You don't think that's enough reason? No, I don't, frankly. And I don't think it's like you, sir. Gwendraeth noticed the concerned look on his sergeant's face. Then listen to this, Gwendraeth James said. Then he turned on the tape that had been given him by his Uncle Edward.